Tactic.
WBSM presents The Tim Weisberg Show, streaming live on WBSM.com and the WBSM app. Call 508-996-0500. Send us app chat messages and open line voicemails using the WBSM app. Now, The Tim Weisberg Show.
Good morning. Happy Thursday to you. Starting off nicely. It's about 47 degrees out, but the sun is starting to break through and the clouds are moving on. So it should be a pretty decent day. Also, Phil, that means that the microphone was left on all night because I went to turn it on, apparently turned it off. So it had apparently been on all night. Oh, yours isn't on now.
Plenty of opportunity for the ghosts to have their own show at night then.
I'm more worried about what some of us might have said, like out in the hallway or something like that, you know?
Right.
Especially at the end of the day when Jason and I are complaining about the fact that it's 6 o'clock at night and we're still here.
Yeah. Everyone's on their best behavior. You're angels.
Anyway, I apologize if anything went over the air that shouldn't. I don't know. It might not have been on the whole time. But so we've got a lot that we can discuss this morning. I'm going to start off mentioning the Dartmouth Carnival just because I know it'll tick off DL and he'll send another app chat message. But I do have a story up. The food is coming back to the Dartmouth Carnival. A lot of people were asking if there would be food this year because last year there wasn't. This year there will be food. They've got the sausage booth. They've got fried dough. They've got French fries, ice cream, and all your carnival favorites. So they will have food this year. Some people were commenting online, I only go for the food. And then someone else commented, I would have gone for the food, but they wanted me to pay $5 to get in just to get the food. So it's up to you if you decide to go or not. But let me know if you do. Call tomorrow and let me know how it goes with the new policy. I'm going to try to get over there tonight, but I don't know that I definitely will be able to. I just want to see if they're turning anybody away and what happens if people go in with a group of kids and all of that. So if you watched the Celtics game last night, you've got to be feeling pretty good about how they looked, wrapping things up. They're going to get some time off now. They're going to be off until at least Sunday. And then Tuesday, if the Magic and the Cavaliers don't wrap things up. So that'll be some nice, well-earned rest, and that'll help with getting Kristaps Porzingis closer to returning. Although they said last night that he's going to be reevaluated in a week. I would guess that if they have this rest period, he might be going in for another MRI sooner rather than later. But they played well without him. Luke Cornett stepping up and others. Al Horford having a great game. And certainly they could survive a couple of games more without him if necessary. They played well without him all season. So, but how do you feel about moving on to the second round? I think people are probably feeling, after game 2, which turned out to be more of an anomaly than anything else, I heard a lot of people saying, well, I don't know if the Celtics have it this year. And that has shifted over the last couple of games to, no, the Celtics have it this year. They better do it. They better pull it off. This is their best chance. The way they're playing out of their minds, they've got to do it. But keep in mind, too, it's a grind. So every time you can get out of a series, 4-0, 4-1, even 4-2, you're doing yourself a favor by getting yourself a couple of extra days of rest. And certainly there were times in that game last night when the Celtics looked tired. they looked like they needed a little bit of a break. And then they found a second wind and a third wind and a fourth wind because I think they just wanted to have a statement game. They wanted to not only wrap up this series, but do it in a way where whoever they were going to be facing going down the line, whether it be in the next round or the Eastern Conference Finals, they want everybody to be scared of them. And I think you have to be with the way they play defensively. They're not going to shoot out of their minds like they've been from three every single game, but you'll have that confidence going when you keep sinking them. I started covering the Celtics for the newspaper during the Jim O'Brien era, when his rule was, as long as you play defense, you can take any shot you want. And Antoine Walker took them all. There was nowhere on the court that he wouldn't try to shoot from. My favorite Antoine line was, he was at the All-Star game and they asked him, Antoine, why do you shoot so many threes? And he said something to the effect of, because they don't have any fours. So that just gave you the idea of the mindset of that team. So it's different when you see a team that uses it as a weapon instead of as a crutch. The Celtics don't have to beat you with the three-pointer. They do it because they can, which is why you have a game like last night where they spend a lot of it up by 30 points. So I'm looking forward to the next round, whoever it may be against. I'm sure the Celtics would prefer going to Orlando rather than Cleveland in terms of the town, but I think they'd rather play the Cavaliers than the Magic. So we'll see how that shakes out. If you are not a Celtics fan, or if you haven't been following the team, now might be a good time to start checking them out. And last night was also Mike Gorman's final broadcast as the play-by-play voice of the Celtics. He's still going to be around. He's still going to be, he'll be doing analyst stuff and all that throughout the playoffs and probably beyond. But that was the last game that he will call. And what a first-class individual. And all my years of covering the team, he had no idea who I was when I first started going to those games, but he was always nice to me. Always took a moment to say hello if I was walking by, even though he didn't know my name. Just one of the truly great guys. And everybody only has nice things to say about him for a reason. I think what won people over to me, or made people think I was probably an okay guy, is I used to sit sometimes with Tommy and Helen Heinsohn at dinner. And that's only because they usually had empty seats around them. And I kind of wanted to just be in his presence and hear some of the stories he'd be telling to the other people sitting at the table. And so I think maybe people saw me sitting with Tommy and were like, oh, this kid's okay. Here I am, 20-something years old, just getting started and in a professional sports locker room, and at a time when the Celtics weren't doing that well when I first started covering the team. They made a push at the end of that season and became a playoff team for the first time in years, but there wasn't a lot of people around. So a new person kind of stood out. And I'm still standing there, with Jackie McMullen, Bob Ryan, people that, I worshipped. And including Mike Gorman. So to have somebody like that, just say hello to you makes you feel more at ease. Makes you feel like, okay, maybe I do belong here. But it was many, many seasons before I actually felt that way. It was when they stopped making me going game to game with a game-to-game pass and I got an actual season credential. I was like, okay, I guess I'm actually part of the Celtics media now. Anyway, that's just my own reflection. I'll miss hearing Mike Gorman calling games because I think his understated style is something that will be gone. They want broadcasters that are storytellers, which Gorman could be, but they want people who are, kind of, they don't want you to just sit back and let the action play out. They want you to be animated and they want you to be saying something all the time. And that wasn't Mike Gorman's style. His style is to just give you the little bits of information that you need. And he learned if you watch older games, I have a Celtics DVD set from their 50th anniversary where they have full games that you can watch. And some of them have him on there. But if you ever see old clips of him or watch videos on YouTube, he used to be more, for lack of a better term, active in his calls. And then he became more understated as time went on. And one time I did say to him, Mike, why do you say less? And this is probably, 2009, 2010. Why do you say less these days than in the old days? And he said, because in the old days, people had crappy TVs with crappy reception. They were tuning in the games on TV 38 and using rabbit ears and probably getting some static and snow, and so they couldn't really make out everything that was going on. And even if they could get a clear picture, it was not a sharp enough picture to be able to necessarily tell who was who. But he said as TVs have gotten better, you start to sound like you're telling people what they're already seeing. So in some places, it's better to step back and to just let the action happen. But he says, I'll still say, Pierce for 2, because there are people that are watching that game that are visually impaired. So I just thought that was such you have to be really comfortable in your job to be able to say, I'm a play-by-play guy that's actually going to give less play-by-play. 508-996-0500. You can also send app chat messages and open line voicemails on the WBSM app. There's a game going around the high school seniors are playing that's causing some controversy. It's called Senior Assassin. We can talk about that. We can talk about that police body cam footage that was released in Raynham, which was when I received the email yesterday afternoon and I clicked on the video and watched it. And when I saw Stephen McLean open the door to the apartment with the gun pointed, I had two thoughts. First, oh my God. I knew they weren't going to show everything. And you can see the video, by the way, at WBSM.com and on the app. We have it in the story there. It's also on our YouTube channel. But I just had this immediate shock reaction to what I was seeing. And then the second thought that I had was, he knew exactly what he was doing. And there have been comments that have shown up online since from people that knew him or claimed to have known him, where he was in a bad place mentally. And so a lot of people think that this was intentional, that he knew what he was doing. He knew that when he opened the door with that gun pointed, they were going to take him out. So again, if you want to see the footage, you can. It's in the story. But keep in mind that you don't see anything overly graphic. But you can tell they were not intending to have to kill him. And the first angle, the first camera, you see instead of having a firearm pulled, the officer has a taser pulled. But the problem is a taser isn't going to win over a handgun. So another officer who had his gun drawn, 2 officers had to fire. So you had 3 officers approaching, two with firearms drawn, 1 with a taser. And the video is probably, 30, 40 seconds total. But you get 3 different angles of him opening the door and emerging, not just with a firearm, but with a firearm at the ready, and then immediately raising it up and pointing it at the officers. So he gave the officers no choice. And he looked, this is, my own judgment, but he looked like he was intending to fire. The 2 officers have been placed on leave while the shooting is investigated, which is just standard operating procedure. But again, you can see it for yourself at WBSM.com and on the WBSM app. Going to take a break, and we'll be back in a few moments. Spin Doctors were one of those bands that back in the 90s I would have said, oh, these guys are going to be around forever. Maybe they still are, but you don't hear much from them anymore. 508-996-0500. We can take your calls coming up after the news. Of course, we will also keep taking your Mother's Day contest photos, the mother-daughter look-alike contest. If you think that your daughters look like you, or maybe you think you look like your mom or what have you, or maybe you're the dad and you want to submit for them, you can do that by going to WBSM.com and clicking on the Mother-Daughter Lookalike Contest tab at the top. We have a whole bunch of great prizes, including a $1,000 Cardi's Furniture and Mattresses gift card. We're talking gift cards to a salon, to 2 different restaurants, jewelry, all kinds of things. So check it out. It's at WBSM.com and on the WBSM app, and it's brought to you by Alianza, the Acai Spot, Corey Jewelers, Mi Antojo Mexican Restaurant, Sisters Salon and Skincare, and Cardi's Furniture and Mattresses. But right now, let's turn things over to Phil Devitt in the WBSM newsroom.
Police move in on another college protest, a lawsuit over South Carolina's abortion ban, and music sticking around on TikTok.
From the WBSM Newsroom, this is WBSM News.
Los Angeles police officers in riot gear have moved into the pro-Palestinian protest encampment at UCLA. Daniel Martindale has the latest.
Officers broke through a plywood barricade at about 1:30 this morning local time. Video from the scene shows at least one person being taken away in handcuffs after engaging with officers. Dozens of protesters formed a human chain in an attempt to block officers from moving further into the encampment, which has now been in place for a week. The LAPD has issued several dispersal orders for the hundreds to thousands of people camped outside of UCLA's Royce Hall. I'm Daniel Martindale.
President Biden preparing to meet with the families of police officers who were shot and killed in the line of duty this week. On Monday, 4 officers were killed while attempting to serve a warrant in Charlotte, North Carolina. Another 4 were shot and injured. President Biden will be in North Carolina on Thursday and is expected to meet with the families of the officers who lost their lives. A lawsuit against South Carolina's 6-week abortion ban will be in court today. Planned Parenthood South Atlantic and 3 doctors seeking a preliminary injunction against the ban, known as the fetal heartbeat law. Meanwhile, lawmakers in Arizona's Senate are voting to repeal a Civil War-era ban on abortion just weeks after the state Supreme Court allowed it to stand. Tony Waterman has more.
2 Republicans crossed party lines to vote in favor of repealing the 1864 near-total ban on abortion, which only had an exception to save the life of the mother. Last week, lawmakers in the Arizona House also repealed the ban.
The law would have gone into effect next month. The repeal now heads to the Democratic Governor Katie Hobbs' desk, who's expected to sign it into law. The FDA says cottage cheese and sour cream are still safe to eat after the bird flu was found in dairy cows. Mark Mayfield with more.
The agency said on Wednesday that it conducted tests on nearly 300 pasteurized retail dairy products after traces of the virus were found last week in the commercial milk supply. It said the tests showed the products didn't contain live virus that could make people sick. The FDA also said it tested powdered infant and toddler formulas and found no evidence of bird flu virus. An official with the agency said that the findings confirm that the pasteurization process inactivates the virus, making it unable to infect people. I'm Mark Mayfield.
Former Nickelodeon producer Dan Schneider is suing the producers of the new Quiet on Set, The Dark Side of Kids TV documentary. His lawyers filed a lawsuit alleging the documentary falsely portrayed Schneider as a sexual abuser. Schneider acknowledged poor leadership and the fact that there were child sexual abusers who worked at Nickelodeon, but maintained he had no knowledge of the abuse and was not an abuser himself. And Universal Music Group has made a new licensing agreement with TikTok. The 2 companies have been feuding for months over royalties paid to UMG artists on the video platform. The dispute led UMG to pull the music of Drake, Taylor Swift, Lady Gaga, and other popular artists from TikTok. On Wednesday, the companies announced a new licensing agreement that would bring an end to the dispute.
WBSM Sports.
The Celtics beat the Miami Heat 118-84 in Game 5 at TD Garden. Boston now faces the winner of the Cavaliers Magic series. Red Sox extending their winning streak to 4 games after taking down the San Francisco Giants 6-2 at Fenway. Next game with the Giants today at 1:30. And Bruins in Game 6 with the Toronto Maple Leafs tonight at 8. Boston leading 3-2.
Now, your ABC6 South Coast forecast.
This morning, we're dealing with some patchy fog, cloudy skies, temperature in the upper 40s. This afternoon, upper 50s with a slight chance for some showers. Overnight tonight, slight chance for showers will prevail. Patchy fog, mid-40s, upper 50s once again for Friday. As we head into the weekend, we'll start out with partial sunshine, mid-50s. Showers develop as we head into Sunday and Sunday night. 60s by next week. From the ABC6 Weather Center, I'm meteorologist Ceci Del Carmen on New Bedford's News Talk station, 1420 WBSM.
I'm Phil Devitt for WBSM News. Stay up to date with New Bedford's News Talk station, WBSM, and get all of our content and breaking news alerts with the WBSM app.
I've got to say, that's probably my favorite Duran Duran song, and there's a lot of good ones to choose from. But if you haven't had a chance to check out the new documentary that's on Netflix, then I recommend it. It's very good. It's a BBC production, So it's, kind of a made-for-television type documentary. It's only less than an hour long, but still pretty good. I mean, I think Duran Duran deserves a 4-part documentary series, something like the Bon Jovi one, which I'm hoping to finish this week. I feel bad for John Bon Jovi because he can't sing like he used to be able to. And he does all that he can. You see in this documentary series, too, just how much he's doing to try to be able to sing. But he just seems like one of the genuinely good guys. So you feel bad. And I would have loved to have seen Bon Jovi maybe 20 years ago. I don't think that I would go now. And if I did, I might have to have, quite a few beers and then be like, yeah, this sounds great. Again, I love their music. It's just, I get wanting to do it. They don't need to do it. They want to do it. But anyway, it's a good, that's a good series too. I've watched the first episode so far. I like music documentaries. If there'll be a documentary on an artist I've never listened to their music, I'll still watch it. So when you are traveling around this summer and you encounter toll roads, how do you pay for tolls? Do you have a transponder? Do you have that on your visor or on your windshield so that when you go through these toll places, it just, hits your credit card or your debit card? Or are you like me? I use toll roads so infrequently that I'll just do pay by plate. Yep, go ahead. Send me the toll in the mail, and then I will pay for it. I will tell you this. That system has not worked for me. Because I just toss that envelope in a pile, forget about it, and I end up paying it when it comes time to renew my registration or renew my license, and by that point, there's fees on top of it. I think the last time, so I renewed my license in January, and I think I had to pay like $58 in unpaid tolls. Which, it's not a big deal, but I could have sent a couple of bucks each time instead of, I'm sure, $58. I'm sure half of that was probably the late fees. And I do the same thing with excise taxes. I'm terrible about remembering. So every once in a while, I'll remember to send that off. But for the most part, it turns into like later on this month, I've got to renew my registration. So I'll just go online and be like, what do I owe in excise taxes? Okay, here you go. My car is not worth much, so the excise taxes never amount to much. But I'm still paying late fees unnecessarily just because I'm absent-minded. Maybe you're not like me. Maybe you do pay by plate, but you send it in when you get the bill. But a lot of us don't, especially around these parts, don't bother to get the transponder because we're not going on the Mass Pike. We're not going on toll roads that often unless you're going to Logan frequently. I mean, what's it going to help you to have one? It doesn't hurt either, but. So if you're someone who is prone to having to be reminded to pay tolls, you might fall for this scam that's going on right now. And in this scam, what is happening is the scammer will text people telling them that they owe money to the state toll collection service. And that if you don't pay it, you will get a $50 late fee. So they send a text to your phone saying, you have an unpaid toll. You can pay it now or you will get a late fee. And so people are apparently falling for this and sending off, it might not be much of a payment, but if they're sending out thousands of these texts a day and they get a couple of people to respond back and send them $3, it's not a bad day's work for a scammer. But the Better Business Bureau is warning people that no state tax collection service will reach out to you this way. They'll send you something in the mail. They're not going to send you a text message asking you to pay. So if you get the text, delete it and block the number. And you may want to just let your local police department know that you got it. I mean, I might say go tell the police before you delete the text and block the number, because maybe they can help you. They can help in tracking down. You can help them in tracking down who's doing it. 508-996-0500. Good morning. You are on WBSM.
Hi, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hi. Pretty good. We went through Rhode Island, and we got one of those in the mail thing, toll bills. It was the demand letter for that plus like $12 or something. Next week, I got the original bill. So you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, they sent you the demand before the original.
Before the original bill.
Which one did you end up paying?
Well, I paid the demand because as soon as you get the bill, I figured, well, I must have missed it.
Ah. So they basically screwed you out of the late fee.
Yeah.
Did you go and try and fight it, or was it just not worth your trouble?
No, I gave up.
Yeah, I don't blame you. All right. Well, thank you for the warning.
Yeah, watch out for that, everybody. Bye.
Yeah. All right. Have a good day. I can tell you, I got a parking ticket in New Bedford, and I waited a couple of weeks to pay it because I was trying to fight it. And when I finally decided I'm just going to pay it, it had already gone past the day, and I had to pay like double because I was already in the late fee. 508-996-0500. Good morning. You're next on WBSM.
Hey, Timothy.
How you doing?
Not bad. Hey, is it cool if I switch gears on you a little bit?
Sure.
All right, cool. Because I just read something that was pretty interesting. So on the national political level, you hear a lot of people talk, on the left and progressive side. They use Sweden as an example of how we should formulate our safety nets and our government. They look at Sweden as the panacea of like progressive policies. And so I started looking into some stuff, and I thought I found some stuff that was relatively interesting. At the federal level in Sweden, your federal tax, everybody is tax exempt up to $54,000 US. So your first $54,000 is tax exempt. You're not taxed at that. It would be similar to our standard deduction of $13,000.
Mm-hmm.
After that, it's a flat tax, 20%. That's all it is. They don't have a progressive tax system there, other than the 0 to 20%. And the most of your heavy taxation is actually at the municipal and state level, not at the federal level, because at the state level is where your health care is actually administered. So it's not a federal system. It's not a single payer system like a lot of people try to promote it as. It's more segmented by the states or municipalities, or however they describe it. The other thing, and I thought this was really interesting, is they privatized their Social Security pension. Back in the 90s, Sweden actually took 2%, which is about what George W. Bush was trying to do in the early 2000s, took 2% and put it into a premium pension fund. And that's basically a 401k plan. And you could pick whatever one you want. There was a whole list of them that you could do it, and you could pick it. And that's what they decided to do because they were faced with a major headwind in their Social Security pension going forward, that if they didn't change gears, it was going to go broke. Their pension system was going to go underwater and nobody was going to get anything. So they actually saved it by privatizing it. So those are a few of the things. I mean, they have a massive sales tax, right? They have a 25% sales tax, which is called a VAT. And then their Social Security tax is relatively high. Also, it's like 30%.
Well, I think a sales tax that high would really hurt this country.
I mean, I don't think so. Because their standard of living up there, in some aspects, is better than us. So they call it a regressive tax here in America. They call sales tax is regressive. It's gonna hurt the poor. But if Sweden is doing this, and it's like you're literally going to have to change the entire tax system. You're going to change our federal tax system to a flat tax, 20%, and exempt your first $54,000. right? Imagine doing that in America. Everybody wouldn't be paying. The majority of Americans would not be paying federal tax. And then the state of Massachusetts, we would go up to, say, 20% on our state income tax. What makes that a good idea is that you have more of a connection to where your money is and who is spending your money, your state rep versus your congressman. You're not sending it to D.C., where in Sweden, their D.C. would be Stockholm. You're not sending it to the federal government to be dispersed and diluted. You keep it local, and then if you don't like how it's being spent, you can actually change it a lot quicker. You have more effect on how things are going. So if the progressives like AOC, like Elizabeth Warren and many others actually did the due diligence of finding out how Sweden is, they actually wouldn't like it too much. I mean, their taxes are significantly higher, but how their tax structure is, it's upside down. It's right side up to our upside down. They keep their taxes local versus sending it to the federal government. We send most of our money to the federal government for it to be diluted into the 50 states. But I thought it was really interesting and they have no minimum wage, by the way. 0 minimum wage at the federal level, which I thought, and yet everybody has a baseline standard of living because a lot of them are unionized. They have a lot of unions there. So that helps. So it's a private union, which I'm not against, but they have no minimum wage. And yet we're told here, if we got rid of minimum wage, the economy would collapse. You're going to hurt the poor. The poverty level in Sweden is 0. It doesn't make any sense. We see the statistics, we see the facts, we see the data in Sweden and how it's being used by the progressives as this utopia. And then you look into it, you actually look at their policies, and it's opposite of what the progressives here in America are pushing for. I thought it was interesting.
Very interesting, yeah. Well, thank you for the information.
You got it, bro.
Have a good. Hey, are you going to go to the carnival tonight?
Yeah. No, I'm too short. I can't ride the rides.
Okay, I feel you. I'm the same way.
All right, bud.
Take it easy. All right. 508-996-0500. Got to take a break. We'll be back in a few moments.
Good.
And welcome back in. Say, on a night like tonight, it's going to be, it'll be a little bit chilly a little bit later on, but the sun's going to stay out for quite a while. It is a perfect night for grilling. It's never too early in the season to grill. It's May, right? You should be firing up that grill every night. And if you're going to fire up that grill, what better to put on it than something from the Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. They have all the finest cuts of meat that you can get around here. They've got stuff that you can't get anywhere else. You want rabbit, you want goat, you go to the Butcher Shop. But if you want sirloin steaks, if you want tomahawk steaks, if you want Terrace Major, if you want prime rib, go to the Butcher Shop. If you want nice chicken breasts, marinated or unmarinated, if you want celebrity pork chops, that, as they say, once you had a celebrity pork chop, you won't want any other pork chop ever again. If you want their giant chicken wings, their seafood, their fish, their lobsters, any of that, the Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. Cut the way you want it. Cut the way your family wants it. Cut right in front of you. Just like an old-fashioned neighborhood market, because that's what the Butcher Shop is. They also have great pre-made foods as well, so you can always stop in and get something delicious to eat, whether it be for a quick lunch or maybe you just want to have them make dinner for you. They'll do that too. Having a party, you can get party platters from the Butcher Shop that will blow everybody's minds. And of course, don't forget, Maria's Rice Pudding, some of the best you will ever have. Visit the beer and wine cellar. Stock up for all of the playoff games going on with the Celtics and the Bruins, and maybe you need a beer or two to get you through the Red Sox here in the regular season. So all of that and more at the Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. Again, it is a real old school neighborhood market with a family feel because it is run by a family, the Penaretta family, who've been running it for over 40 years. Check out the Butcher Shop, 123 Dartmouth Street in New Bedford. you talk in your sleep? I guess I do. I've been told that I do. I don't know for sure because I've never heard it. But yeah, no, I've been told that I talk in my sleep, but I say nonsensical babblings, things that don't make any sense. So pretty much it's like I'm doing my radio show while I'm sleeping. Just saying whatever I want to say, and none of it makes any sense. We're going to take a break for the news here. When we come back on the other side, we'll take more of your calls, 508-996-0500. We can take your app chat.